December 27th, 2025, local time 6:47. 999 Russian soldiers were advancing in column formation toward a small settlement 12 kilometers northwest of Pokrovsk, riding in 12 BTR-82A armored vehicles. Their main objective was to occupy and seize that settlement. But there was something they hadn't accounted for: drones waiting for them there, and at the controls of those drones were Ukrainian soldiers who had sworn an oath of vengeance. 4 FPV drones. Total cost, $1,920. Result: 247 casualties, 9 vehicles destroyed or rendered inoperable, meaning the Russian mission was a complete failure. There was no artillery support, no ground forces, no air support. 4 operators sitting in a minibus 7 kilometers away, using explosives mounted on quadcopter drones lighter than a laptop, completely collapsed a battalion-strength assault. This level of devastating attack on such a low budget is truly remarkable. This is exactly what happened as 999 soldiers advanced along a road near Pokrovsk toward the future of warfare. And what makes this story devastating is how preventable it was. Russian command knew that Ukrainian FPV drones were operating in the area. They knew reconnaissance drones were monitoring every movement, yet they sent 999 soldiers down that road anyway. Here's the technical breakdown of how 4 drones annihilated a mechanized column in 11 minutes. The settlement sits between the names Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka, names that mean nothing to most people but everything to soldiers fighting in eastern Ukraine in late 2025. The town itself has no strategic value. The buildings are in ruins. The population was evacuated months ago. But the single paved road running through the town connects Russian-controlled territory to Ukrainian defensive lines. And in December 2025, that made it valuable enough for Russian command to risk 999 lives. The plan was simple: move fast, crush any resistance, establish a forward position before Ukrainian forces could respond. Russian planners estimated the advance would take 45 minutes from launch to objective. They estimated Ukrainian forces to be battalion strength and positioned in defensive positions 3 kilometers beyond the settlement. They were wrong on both counts. The advance wouldn't take 45 minutes, it wouldn't even take 12 minutes. And Ukrainian forces weren't 3 kilometers away. They were 7 kilometers away, sitting in a modified civilian minibus with external antennas camouflaged as farm equipment, monitoring every vehicle from high-altitude reconnaissance feeds, calculating intercept vectors, and waiting for the perfect moment. By December 2025, FPV drone technology had evolved far beyond what most people understood. The 4 drones waiting for the Russian convoy were not toys. They weren't improvised weapons cobbled together in garages. These were 43-centimeter quadcopters manufactured in Dnipro by Terminal Autonomy, a Ukrainian company that had transitioned from commercial drone production to military systems in 2023. Each drone weighed 3.4 kilograms fully loaded. The explosive payload consisted of 1.8 kilograms of moldable composite, wrapped around a shaped charge specifically designed to penetrate BTR-82A side armor. The control system operated with frequency-hopping technology resistant to Russian electronic warfare systems. Each drone could establish encrypted digital radio links up to 18 kilometers under optimal conditions. Operators controlled them using modified FPV racing goggles and standard gaming controllers. Total cost per drone, $480. Total training time for operators, 6 weeks. The Russian column began moving at 6:47. BTR-82. A vehicles led the formation, engines running at maximum sustainable RRPM. Infantry rode inside the vehicles or moved on foot in dispersed formations alongside the road, using tree lines and ditches for concealment from overhead observation. Russian electronic warfare systems detected Ukrainian reconnaissance drones within 2 minutes of departure. Jamming protocols activated automatically. Interference signals filled the radio spectrum. Russian operators believed they had created a protective bubble around the advancing force. They were wrong. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones operated at 1,200 meters altitude using directional antenna systems that bypassed the jamming almost entirely. The FPV operators received crystal-clear video feeds showing Russian positions, vehicle spacing, infantry deployment patterns, and the exact moment when the column entered the kill zone. The kill zone was a 400-meter stretch of road where damaged buildings created natural choke points. The road narrowed to a single lane in two places. Tree lines blocked visibility from the sides, and most critically, the terrain offered no quick escape routes for vehicles attempting to maneuver under fire. Ukrainian operators had identified this location 3 days earlier during routine reconnaissance. They had wargamed multiple scenarios. They knew exactly where to position for optimal strike angles. They knew the timing required to collapse an entire column before it could scatter. They knew that Russian doctrine called for immediate vehicle dispersal when facing drone attacks, and they had calculated how to prevent that dispersal from succeeding. At 6:52, the lead BTR-82A entered the kill zone. Ukrainian operators launched the first drone at 6:53. Flight time to target, 64 seconds. The drone flew low over agricultural fields at 8 meters altitude to avoid visual detection. Russian soldiers in the column heard nothing over vehicle engines and their own movement. The drone approached from the right side, angled toward the lead BTR's rear section where fuel systems created maximum vulnerability. The operator watched through the drone's camera as the target filled the screen. Distance counted down in real time on the heads-up display. 80 meters, 60 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters, impact. 6:54:17. The shaped charge penetrated BTR-82A side armor and detonated inside the fuel compartment. Secondary explosions followed within 2 seconds as fuel ignited. The vehicle slewed left and stopped, blocking the narrow road section. Flames erupted from the engine compartment. Infantry inside attempted to evacuate through rear hatches. The second BTR-82A, traveling 28 meters behind, braked hard to avoid collision. The entire column compressed as vehicles slowed. Russian soldiers began dismounting, seeking cover in roadside ditches and behind damaged building walls. Standard doctrine: disperse and take cover. Wait for the threat to pass. But the second drone was already in flight. The Ukrainian operators had launched Drone 2 at 6:53:47, anticipating the exact scenario now unfolding. This drone targeted the second BTR-82A, now stationary 30 meters behind the burning lead vehicle. The approach vector came from the left side, exploiting the blind spot created by the vehicle's orientation and the chaos of soldiers evacuating from the destroyed lead vehicle. Impact at 6:55:51. The strike hit the troop compartment directly. 14 soldiers were inside. 9 died immediately. The remaining 5 suffered critical fragmentation wounds. The vehicle burned. Ammunition stored inside began cooking off, creating a danger zone extending 35 meters in all directions. Soldiers who had dismounted from other vehicles and taken cover near the second BTR were now forced to move again, exposing themselves in open terrain. The column was halted. 2 vehicles destroyed in under 2 minutes. Infantry scattered across a 280-meter stretch of road. Russian vehicle commanders faced an immediate tactical problem. Continue forward into unknown numbers of drones, reverse and expose vehicle rears to attack, or remain stationary and become easier targets. Russian doctrine called for immediate suppressive fire against suspected operator positions, but the operators were 7 kilometers away, well beyond the range of any weapon the column carried. Artillery could reach that distance, but identifying exact operator locations required time. Minutes? The column did not have minutes. At 6:56, Russian command ordered the column to reverse. Vehicle commanders began coordinating withdrawal. Infantry were recalled to vehicles. The third and fourth drones launched simultaneously at 6:56:34. The Ukrainian operators had anticipated the withdrawal order. They had planned for it. Drone 3 targeted a BTR-82A in the middle of the column as it began reversing. Drone 4 targeted an MTLB near the rear carrying communications equipment and command personnel. Drone 3 struck at 6:57:48. The BTR-82A had just begun moving backward when the shaped charge hit its front section, penetrating the thinner frontal armor and detonating inside the driver compartment. The vehicle lost power immediately. 3 crew members died. The vehicle blocked the road completely. Any vehicles behind it could no longer reverse. They were trapped between 3 destroyed vehicles and had nowhere to maneuver except into the fields. Drone 4 struck 6 seconds later at 6:57:54. The MTLB carrying the battalion commander and his staff exploded. The shaped charge penetrated the vehicle's minimal armor and detonated among the personnel inside. The battalion commander died instantly along with 4 staff officers. Communications equipment was destroyed. Command and control disintegrated in that moment. Individual vehicle commanders were now making independent decisions without coordination. Some attempted to drive cross-country through the fields. Others abandoned vehicles and moved infantry on foot back toward their starting positions. Neither choice succeeded. The fields on both sides of the road contained anti-tank mines placed by Ukrainian forces 2 weeks earlier during defensive preparations. The mines were PMN-2 models, designed to detonate under vehicle weight. 3 BTR-82. As attempting to maneuver off-road struck mines within 90 seconds of leaving the pavement. 1 mine detonated under the left track of a BTR, immobilizing the vehicle completely. The second mine exploded beneath a BTR's front section, killing the driver and causing the vehicle to crash into a drainage ditch. The third mine destroyed the rear axle of another BTR, leaving it burning in the field. Vehicle crews evacuated and joined infantry already scattered across the terrain. By 6:58:47, exactly 11 minutes and 47 seconds after the column began its advance, Russian forces controlled nothing. 4 vehicles burned on the road. 3 more were disabled in the fields. Infantry scattered across a 600-meter area had abandoned any attempt at formation cohesion. They were simply moving away from the kill zone in whatever direction seemed safest. Some groups headed back toward Russian lines on foot. Others took cover in destroyed buildings and waited. Vehicle crews from disabled but not burning vehicles attempted to establish defensive perimeters, but without command coordination and facing an enemy they could not see or reach. These efforts achieved nothing meaningful. The Ukrainian operators did not pursue. Their mission was complete. 4 drones, 4 targets, 4 hits. The column was destroyed as a fighting force. Russian casualties in those 11 minutes. 247 killed or critically wounded. Vehicle losses. 7 BTR-82As destroyed or disabled. 2 MTLBs destroyed. Command structure eliminated. Mission failed absolutely. Ukrainian expenditure. 4 FPV drones costing $1,920 total, operated by 4 personnel from a concealed position that Russian forces never located. The mathematics of this engagement reveals why December 2025 became a turning point in how both sides understood modern warfare. Russian forces invested approximately $47 million in the vehicles, weapons, equipment, and trained personnel that formed that column. Ukrainian forces invested $1,920 in the drones that destroyed it. The cost exchange ratio was 24,479 to 1. But the true revelation was not economic. It was tactical. Speed no longer protected advancing forces. Numbers no longer provided security. Armor no longer guaranteed survival. The fundamental assumptions that governed mechanized warfare for 70 years had collapsed in the face of weapons that cost less than a decent laptop, and could be manufactured in quantities that made traditional military production irrelevant. Russian forces had known Ukrainian FPV drones operated near Pokrovsk. They had intelligence reports. They had after-action reviews from previous engagements. They knew the threat. They sent 999 soldiers down that road anyway because military doctrine and operational planning in December 2025 had not yet caught up with the reality that 4 operators in a van could destroy a battalion-strength force before that force even understood it was under attack. The gap between what commanders planned and what technology enabled had become a chasm that swallowed 999 soldiers in 11 minutes. This engagement was not unique. Similar patterns repeated across the front throughout December 2025. Ukrainian FPV drones struck Russian columns near Chasiv Yar, Toretsk, and Kurakove. Russian FPV drones struck Ukrainian positions near Robotyne, Velika Novosilka, and Vuhledar. Both sides lost mechanized units to weapons operated by personnel, sitting kilometers away from the actual fighting. Both sides continued to send columns down roads. Both sides continued to lose those columns to drones. The tactical learning curve was brutal, and by December 31st, 2025, neither side had solved the fundamental problem. Movement in contested areas meant exposure. Exposure meant targeting. Targeting meant destruction. The only variable was how quickly the cycle completed. By late December, Ukrainian forces operated an estimated 4.5 million FPV drones. Russian production aimed for 2 million drones manufactured in 2025. Both sides produced thousands of drones daily. The cost per unit continued declining as production scaled. Technology improved continuously. Operators gained experience with every engagement, and the kill zones expanded. What began as a 6-kilometer gray zone behind front lines in early 2025 had become a 12-kilometer depth by December, where movement itself was the primary risk factor. Columns could not advance safely. Supply convoys could not move during daylight. Infantry could not concentrate without creating targets. The entire operational concept of mechanized warfare faced a weapon system that cost $480 and could be piloted by someone who learned the basics in 6 weeks. The settlement northwest of Pokrovsk remains contested as of December 31st, 2025. Russian forces have not attempted another mechanized advance along that particular road. Ukrainian forces have not moved to occupy the ground. Both sides understand that the road is a kill zone. Both sides understand that 999 soldiers can be stopped by 4 drones if those drones arrive at the right moment in the right place, with operators who understand what they are seeing.